There's a Pirate in the Family. Book 2. Episode 12, Chapter 17, Carjacked in Tampa. The plane descended into dark clouds. It circled, then banked into a turn to line up with the runway. JW looked out his window, and in between clouds he could see the blue-green water of Tampa Bay. When the plane was close enough to see the ground clearly, the first thing JW noticed was how green everything was. Everywhere you looked was green. Katie was complaining that her ears were hurting, and JW showed her how to hold her nose and blow to open the tubes from the back of your throat into the ears to equalize the pressure. He had seen this on the Science Channel and was proud that he remembered it to help his little sister. Within a few minutes, the wheels bounced once, and the plane settled onto the runway. They were here, Tampa, Florida. Mom told them the reason they were flying into Tampa instead of Fort Myers or Sarasota Airport, both closer to where Grandpa lived, and the reason was that he had to be in Tampa for business anyway. JW knew it was because it was over $100 cheaper for the fare to Tampa, and Mom wanted to keep as much money as possible for her Bahamas vacation. JW didn't mind this. He just wondered why his mom could never tell the truth about anything. He had watched her book the flights online and had seen the prices. He felt his mom thought he was stupid or something. She could tell him anything and he would just believe, no matter what. He once heard his father say, if your mom got $1 to tell the truth and a nickel to lie, she'd always have a pocket full of nickels. JW missed his dad. It took almost 20 minutes for the plane to taxi to the gate and park. A tunnel on wheels rolled up and engulfed the plane's door, and a stewardess pushed open the door at the front of the plane. Everyone was in the aisle already, even though the captain had not turned off the fasten seatbelt sign. JW kept Katie in her seat until most of the grown-ups got out of the way. He always felt protective of his little sister and promised his mom to watch out for her. Mom told them when they got off the plane, they were to follow the signs to baggage claim. Their grandfather would meet them there. They got off the plane and walked to the tram. Oh, just like Disney World, Katie said as the tram left for the terminal side. JW thought was okay, even if he were too cool to say so. They followed the baggage claim signs to the escalators. Katie was a little scared when she saw it drop 2 stories. It seemed a long way down, but she held JW's hand, and in a minute, they were in the baggage claim area, safe and sound. JW couldn't remember what his grandpa looked like, and his mom had said, just look for an old, fat, hippie-looking guy with a ponytail and a beard. Sure enough, there was his grandpa sitting on a bench next to the carousel where the luggage came out. He sure looks grumpy. I'm not sure he wanted us to come, Katie said. JW said, don't worry about it. Mom said his bark was worse than his bite. She also said he told her he was looking forward to having us. But you know how Mom is, she's saying anything to get you to do what she wants, said Katie. JW and Katie walked up to their grandpa, who was reading his book and hadn't noticed them yet. Hi, Grandpa, JW said and stuck out his hand. His grandfather looked over the top of his reading glasses and smiled. He shook the offered hand and then smiled at Katie and pulled her into a one-armed hug and kissed her on the cheek. His beard tickled, and she immediately liked him and smiled back. Okay, Jimbo, watch for your luggage while I get us a cart to haul it in. I don't think we'll need a cart, Grandpa. There's only 2 small suitcases and we can carry them, said JW, looking at his grandfather's cane. Okay, said Grandpa, still holding Katie's hand. He leaned on his cane and groaned as he got to his feet. Soon they spotted the 2 bags, pulled them from the moving carousel, and headed for the elevators to the short-term parking where Grandpa left his car. JW wondered what kind of a car Grandpa had, but figured he would find out soon enough and didn't ask. Grandpa took out a parking stub and handed it to Katie. Can you read this to me so we'll know which elevator to use? I've put away my reading glasses and can't see the blasted thing. Katie grinned at him and read the ticket. It says, Yeager, Grandpa, and looked at the names over the elevators. Do you know who Chuck Yeager is, young lady? Sure, he was a flyer that had something to do with early space flight. We saw him in a movie Mom called The Right Stuff. It's one of Mom's favorites. He flew the X-15 rocket. J.W. said. "That's right," said Grandpa, and he winked at Katie, and she giggled. They got into the elevator with some other people. One fat lady that smelled strongly of too much perfume, and it reminded J.W. of his counselor. The lady's husband was wearing bright yellow shorts, a lime green shirt with pictures of large tropical flowers like a Georgia O'Keeffe painting. He had sandals with dark socks. When they got out at the next floor, Grandpa muttered, "Tourists." They got clear to the top before Grandpa took Katie's hand and they left the elevator. Parking was almost full when I got here, so I had to come all the way up to the top. They walked out into the bright sunshine, and J.W. noticed the smell of freshly mowed grass. The rain had stopped, but things still glistened with wet and sent a glare into their eyes. Grandpa pulled his keys from the pocket of his shorts and stepped up to a big 4-door Toyota Tundra pickup. He took the kids' bags and strapped them into the bed of the truck with a bungee cord and unlocked the door. At that moment, a tall young black man walked up behind the truck, and Grandpa picked up his cane from the side of the truck bed and told the kids, "Get in and lock the doors. Keep your heads down until I find out what's going on with this guy." J.W. grabbed his sister, pushed her into the back seat, and then climbed in and locked the doors as instructed. J.W. opened the back window so they could see and hear what was going on. Grandpa was still between the truck and the car next to him, his back toward the wall. He took a step toward the man and smiled broadly and said, "What can I do for you, young man?" The man stepped forward, pulled a gun, and pointed it at Grandpa and said, "Give me your money or I'll shoot you and them kids too." Grandpa took a small step forward and said, "Damn knee," and bent over and rubbed his knee and then took another shuffling step forward, keeping himself between the gun and the kids. He looked up at the man and said, "Okay, son, but I only have a few dollars on me. I'll give you what I have. I just don't want anyone hurt." The tall man sneered as he looked down at the old man and said, "Okay, Gramps, we'll just have to go for a ride to your bank then, and I kinda like your truck too." What happened next happened so fast that J.W. almost missed it. Grandpa moaned and clutched at his heart like he was having a heart attack, and at the same time took another stumbling step toward the man. "Hey, get back!" he shouted and shoved the pistol toward Grandpa. Grandpa's left hand reached up almost slowly and grabbed the barrel of the gun, which he quickly twisted toward his attacker, breaking his finger with the trigger guard. J.W. heard a loud snap when the finger broke, and the guy yelled in pain. Grandpa's cane in his right hand snapped up between his attacker's legs, striking him in what J.W. referred to as his cookies. Grandpa rotated the cane behind horizontally, pushing the cane forward onto the right knee, locking it in place. He stepped forward and drove his cane toward the ground, and the attacker fell hard, his head bouncing on the concrete floor. Grandpa stepped forward again, the cane swung in a high circle, striking down on the man's head with a loud thwack. The guy was out cold, and Grandpa was left holding the gun. It all happened in less than a minute. Grandpa saw the frightened, wide-eyed looks on the faces of his 2 grandchildren peering out of the back window of the truck, so he took the clip from the bottom of the gun, emptied it, and handed it through the back window to J.W. and said, "Here's your first souvenir from Florida." Grandpa smiled as if he's just gotten off a ride at Disney World and having fun. He wiped the gun free of his prints, broke it down and dumped half of it in the nearest trash can, walked a short distance and dumped the other half of the pistol in the next trash can. He walked back, took a nylon rope from the storage compartment in the back of the truck, and tied the guy's arms and legs together. Then he hooked his cane into the waistband of the guy's jeans and pulled the guy from behind the truck. He then walked around the driver's side of the truck, opened the door, handed in his cane, pulled himself up behind the wheel, started the truck, and drove away. J.W. gawked at his grandfather and said, "Aren't we going to call the police?" Grandpa shook his head and said, "They'll find him soon enough. He's not hurt badly, and I'm sure he won't be bragging to anyone about getting bested by an old fat man. Besides, we'd be answering questions for hours, and then the stupid idiot would probably try to sue me. No, it's better if we're just not here and never were." J.W. could see his grandpa's hands shaking, and his grandpa saw him looking and said, "Just adrenaline. It'll be okay in a few minutes. You guys hungry?" Were you scared, Grandpa? Asked J.W. Only a fool has no fears, son. It's how we control ourselves when we are afraid that counts in situations like this or in life itself, said Grandpa. They stopped at McDonald's and had cheeseburgers and fries. While they were sitting there, Katie said, "He should have read your shirt, Grandpa." Katie pointed to the t-shirt Grandpa had on, which read, "Beware, grumpy old man." They all laughed. Enjoyed watching Grandpa show this carjacker exactly why you should never judge a book by its cover? This is just the beginning of the wild, unscripted adventures waiting for JW and Katie in There's a Pirate in the Family. If you want to see what happens next on this chaotic Florida trip, make sure to smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you never miss a new episode, and drop a comment below sharing your favorite grandpa moment from today's showdown.